Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Carmen. I am a nursing student, and today I will be talking about the different types of psychotherapies. I chose this subject because I think it's very important because to me specifically, I had no idea different types of psychotherapies that existed until I started doing my research, and I was actually looking for therapy, and I realized that I was kind of seeing therapists, but not getting what I want. And so it took me some time to realize what I want and kind of shift into the specific type of therapy that I wanted. So let's start. First of all, what is psychotherapy? Psychotherapy is basically talk therapy, and it is for mental disorders or emotional difficulties, but it can also be for any type of difficulty that you may be going through. It can be on a short term, long term. Either you're going through grief, have some fear you want to face, or going through OCD breakup. And it can also be hand in hand with medication. If you're taking a medication with a psychiatrist, it usually helps a lot. The common goal of all psychotherapies is to reduce symptoms and increase quality of life. No matter what type you're going to take or try, it all has the same goal, just to have a better quality of life. But the differences are on the theoretical approaches. So like, what is the philosophy behind it? What kind of theory does it use to achieve that quality of life we're talking about? It can also be different according to, like, if you want to do it with a couple or family, or do you want to just do it for one thing or long term? So these are all different things that change different psychotherapies from one another. So I just wanted to talk real quick about the different health professionals in the field. So we have psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists, which are not all the same, obviously. And we also have counselors, which I didn't mention because I felt like it wasn't very, I didn't feel like it was necessary, but they are also there to help and improve your quality of life. So just to say that psychiatrists have a medical degree, and they work on the neurochemistry of the brain mostly, and they are the ones to prescribe medication. No one else can prescribe medication other than psychiatrists. Psychologists have a degree in psychology, and they work on the science of the mind, kind of. They work on the science of the different theories that we can have in our lives. And yeah, they provide psychological testing, diagnosis, and counseling. They can also be psychotherapists, but psychotherapists specifically are the ones who kind of treat the mind. They don't work in, like, they are obviously, they have to be psychologists, they have to know the science behind it. But yeah, so we're talking about psychotherapists today, okay? But they can obviously all work together in order to find the better solution for the specific case. So what's nice about psychotherapy is that it really depends on how you want to perceive it and how you think is the better way to treat yourself or the issue that you have. So you can either work on changing your behavior and change your emotions and change the way you feel, or you can change your emotions towards the specific problem that you have. And then the emotions, when you change them, they will change the behavior. So it's a little bit tricky, but if you think about it a little bit, it will make sense. So yeah, you're either working on the behavior or you're working on the emotion, and then you have the result. And this is one of the main differences in the different types of psychotherapy, but there are also a lot of other differences, which I will mention. And there are I think like around 400 more types of therapies, but I will just go through the 5 main ones because I'm obviously not going to go through 400 ones. So yeah, I will be talking about the 5 main ones. The 2 mostly used ones in Lebanon are psychoanalysis and CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. The other ones are also in, like, I mean, you can find them everywhere, but they're less common. The most popular ones at the moment are, yeah, psychoanalysis and CBT. So yeah, let's start with the types of psychotherapy. So first of all, psychoanalysis, it is the first type of psychotherapy to exist. It was started by Freud, and it is the therapy to help people understand memories of repressed traumatic events in the past. So he believed that if we had issues in our lives, it was because of traumatic events that we had in our past. So if we talked about them and try to understand them, then we will feel better. So when you're doing psychoanalysis, which is also called psychodynamics, I think, you're mainly working on the past and the events that happened with you that caused, like, are a result. I mean, you're a result of the past. So yeah, you're mainly working on memories, on past experiences, and they also like, not they also, but psychoanalysis also works with dreams. And these are the main things that should be causing emotional distress according to their philosophy. So I have a little picture here that I put on purpose because this is the idea that we get of psychoanalysis. It's usually the therapist that is sitting and taking notes and just like talking, trying to just unlock things from the past. And some of the disadvantages of that is that it takes a lot of time, and it is also unstructured. So like one session, you might be talking about your mom. The other one, you're just talking about a birthday party you went to and that caused you something. And then the other one, you're just talking about when you were young. You know, it's not very structured if you're like trying to deal with your anxiety. And so it might make you feel like you're not advancing. It does take time. And if there is resistance, this is also something they work with in psychoanalysis, is that a therapist will try to find the topics that you're not willing to talk about because they think that usually these are the topics where you have the most like repressed emotions and like internal conflict. So yeah, it takes time, but it's still good for a better understanding of the self. If you're trying to understand who you are and why you are the way you are, psychoanalysis is really good. It's good for depression, anxiety, trauma. I think it works for everything. It just depends on, sorry, the electricity cut. It just depends on what your goal is with this therapy. I will keep going. I think my Wi-Fi is still working. Yeah, it should be working. So, okay. Sorry. Next is, the electricity should be back in order. Next is humanistic and existential therapy. This is another type of therapy that focuses mainly on the here and the now and uncovering each person's uniqueness. So they try to be like present. And I also put this picture here on purpose because the way that a humanistic therapist will talk to you is very different than the way that, this therapist will talk to you. Here, the therapist is just being an active listener and trying to analyze the things that you went through. But a humanistic therapist will have a lot of empathy towards you and will like be more involved with like who you are and like give you a lot of acceptance and empathy. And yeah, the disadvantages of humanistic therapy is that it focuses on growth rather than adjustment. So like you might be working on how you want to improve yourself, but maybe you might be forgetting on why you are the way you are, which is stopping you from working yourself. So it depends on many factors, like, yeah. And it's best for depression, anxiety, obviously works for everything, and especially for low self-esteem, because a humanistic therapist will really work on showing you the uniqueness that you have and how like they think humanistic therapy believes that every person is unique and that they should see how unique they are in order to shine and feel better. And yeah. So next up is behavioral therapy. So if you remember, I told you that therapy depends on like the way you see it and the philosophy that you have behind it. If you're using behavior to change emotion or emotion to change behavior in order to reach to a stable state of mind. So behavioral therapy works on behavior. So we're only working on behavior in order to be better. And so change of behavior changes your emotions and changes your life. So I'm just going to talk about these two, which are aversion therapy and systematic desensitization. They are two types of behavioral therapy. I think a lot of us have heard about aversion therapy. It's like when you're trying to stop a bad habit, you try to associate something bad with it, so you stop doing it. So I know a lot of people like do the small tick with their hand, like if they're biting their nails or something, they'll just do something with a rubber band thing. Or if there's like a nail polish that you can put on your nails so that when you bite your nails, it's like disgusting and you stop it. And some people also put like a pill or a powder or something when they drink alcohol, and that makes them vomit after they drink alcohol. And then like you just condition your mind to thinking that alcohol will make me vomit, so I will not do it anymore. So that is one type of changing your behavior in order to change your mind. And you end up reducing that bad habit. Or you can do another type of behavioral therapy is systematic desensitization. It kind of says what it is in the word. It's like working gradually with facing fears and like everything that it mainly is for fears, like for phobias, but not only like spiders and heights and stuff like that. It can also be like social. If you're scared of like calling someone, you might take it gradually. Like obviously it's not very sudden. You work on it session by session and try to do things that bring you closer to that fear in order to make it look like it's not a fear, because at the end of the day, fear is just created in the mind. So yeah, we can use relaxation techniques, visualizations, and for like spiders, I put this picture because so this man is just trying to get closer to spiders. And like bit by bit, he won't get scared of them anymore. And I also saw that people are using virtual reality for phobias, which I think is super interesting because I really like the way that technology and psychology are working together. So I think that can be a nice way to work on ourselves. Next is CBT. So CBT I think is one of the most popular types of therapy in Lebanon. So CBT works on changing your emotion, which will change your behavior. So before that, we talked about how you change your behavior, which will change your emotion. Now we're talking about how changing your emotions will change your behavior. So with CBT, you're trying to work with your therapist to identify the patterns on why you think the way you think and why thinking that way is harmful for you and how to stop doing it so you won't feel that way anymore and do these things that harm you to begin with. It might be a little complicated to grasp. And I'm not sure if this little cycle on the right of the screen will help or not understand it, but so when you have thoughts that create feelings and feelings that create behavior, the behavior reinforces the thoughts, and then you repeat that cycle again and again. But once you start changing your thoughts, you change the feelings associated to that thought, and then your behavior will change. So when you're changing your thoughts with your therapist, your behavior changes. That's what I was trying to say. And CBT works with developing strategies and to overcome patterns. So you're constantly working with your therapist actively to make your life better. So it has homework involved. And yeah, and it also, it focuses on logic. Now, something that I wanted to say about CBT is the disadvantage about it. It's that the disadvantage of CBT is that sometimes you're not addressing the real problem. You're just like addressing the feelings that are surrounded with the main, like you're ignoring the main issue, which might work for some people, it might not work for some people. Again, there are different types of therapies for different types of people, for different types of issues. So yeah. Did I say, yeah, it's good for anxiety, depression, stress, almost like all types of therapies are good for everything. It just really depends on your goal and what you're trying to achieve with therapy. Next up is DBT. It's the last type of therapy that I will talk about. After that, I will be talking about other things. So yeah, DBT is dialectical therapy. I also wanted to mention that therapists do not use just one strict type of therapy. A lot of therapists will use a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not just one thing. And when you're seeing a therapist, they might have like a main philosophy that they're working with. So like your therapist might tell you, okay, I work with CBT, but it really is a case by case thing. And it also like depends on how capable also your therapist is to find like the right thing to tell you and relate to you. But I will be talking about this later anyway. But it's not like very strict, and it's not like, you know, just CBT, just DBT. It can be very various according to also your therapist and the experience that she or he has. So DBT focuses on two opposite forces. Like the philosophy behind it is that two opposite forces are true at the same time. So DBT is mainly for people who tend to see the world in like black and white, who are very like negative, very black, like to see the gray, I guess, because the world is not black and white. And so sometimes people have a hard time seeing like the two things at the same time. They tend to see one side and ignore the other. And DBT helps you actually like, for example, you might think that just because the job offer rejected you, like, oh, I'm never going to get a job offer, like this is not for me. And then DBT will teach you like, it was just one job offer. That does not mean that all job offers will not accept you. It just helps you like put into perspective things. And yeah, taking pros and cons into consideration, just like being more aware of life. And yeah, and it works on the four pillars of mindfulness, emotional regulation, having better relationships with people, and working through hard situations. Like that's what it mainly works on. But it also has homework. And usually with people who tend to think negatively, it might be hard for them, because when you commit for a long time and you have like to do some work that your therapist gives you, it might lead to like shame and guilt, like, oh, I wasn't able to do that. You know, it's not very easy. It's not easy, but like, again, not everything is not easy, but yeah, this is like a small disadvantage of it. And it is best for borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. And again, as I said, like for the people who tend to see things, and depression also, because it's mainly how when people seem to see the world in like black and white. Now, how to choose your therapist. I really wish someone told me this before. I really wish I watched uh, a webinar like this before, because I really needed to hear that before. But like now yeah. How do you choose your therapist? These are things to ask yourself. First of all, do gender, age, religion matter to me? Some people mind that, some people don't. You need to ask yourself this, because sometimes you might feel like it doesn't, but then you think about it and it does. What is the concern that you want to address, and what is stopping me? What is in my way? So what is it that you want to work on? Is it grief that you want to work on? Is it a fear of something that you want to work on? Is it just you not being able to regulate your emotions? Of course, the more awareness you have, the more you're able to know what the issue is. So you really need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, if I want to like seek help, like what is it that I'm seeking help for? And how much structure do I want? It's a very important question, because as I said, psychoanalysis is very unstructured. The sessions that you're gonna have are gonna be very loose, and you might feel like at some point that you're not able to keep up, and that you don't know what you don't even know why you're going to therapy, because you can't like put things together, but that's the part of it. So you need to know if that bothers you or not. And you also want to know if your problem is based on a diagnosis or everyday challenges. If you have a diagnosis, usually it is more specific, and you might be able to find like a type of therapy that works better for your specific diagnosis. You need to do some research about it. If it's just everyday challenge, you might just like try several ones and see like if you like a therapist. Trust is very important. You really need to be able to find trust with your therapist. So I think if trust is established and you feel like they can relate to you, and you just want to go for like everyday challenges, it doesn't really matter what your concern is and like the goals that you want to have, because again, you can't answer to all of these questions, because when you're not feeling okay, you're just not feeling okay. You can't really pinpoint it and like answer to these questions, like what is my concern and what is in my way. Like not everyone can answer to these questions. And do I want to gain understanding or change? Now, it's different when people want to change, and it's different when people just want to understand why they are the way they are. These are also two very different things that I wish someone told me before, because it's different when you're trying to understand why you behave in certain ways. But when you're trying to change and you don't really care to understand why you are the way you are, you just want to like grow and put the past behind. This is also different, and it depends from a person to another. So yeah, this is something that you need to ask yourself. You can find different NGOs in Lebanon. There's Embrace, there is Naufal clinics. Naufal is just a regular clinic, and Brain Station also is a bunch of therapists. You can tell them what your case is, and they will help you find the best therapist for you. And you also have private psychologists and psychiatrists, which you can get from recommendations and everything. But I put a big caps lock on commitment. And once you book your session, you need to commit to it. I will tell you why now in the following slide. So yeah. Oh, first of all, let's talk about the misconceptions and myths of psychotherapy, and then I'll go through why commitment is important. So this is my favorite part. Okay, first of all, first misconception is that therapists sit behind desks taking notes while you lie on a couch. That is not true. It also depends on like what psychoanalysis. You will have sessions where you're just talking and your therapist is taking notes. But again, it depends on what type of therapy you're going to. If you do not like that, then maybe you shouldn't look into psychoanalysis and look into something that is more like where you're having a conversation. So that is first of all. And there are also so many types of therapies. As I said, there are more than 400 types of therapies. So you might as well find one that suits you, that you like, that will not make you feel uncomfortable. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what just happened. Anyway, yeah. So I still have 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna go quickly. Psychotherapists cannot solve sessions in 1 to 2 sessions. You need at least 3 to 4 months. You cannot expect yourself to feel better automatically after 1 or 2 sessions. It's not realistic. So you need to keep that in mind before going into that process. Yeah, my therapist will not tell me exactly what to do. You cannot go into thinking that they will solve your problems. They're not, it's not magic, you know, they will guide you, but you have to decide what you want for yourself. They can't tell you what to do exactly. And it would be very subjective of them. It's not the way it works. Some people think that they have to click with their therapist from the first session. This is true and not true. If you do not click specifically on the first session, you still have to try and see if you can give that a chance. Therapy takes a lot of patience. So you need to know that, you know, some sessions are going to be good, some sessions are not going to be good, but you just need to try and yeah, go for it. Some people think that all therapy is the same, that they are all about sitting on a chair and talking. This is not true. Also, there are so many different types of ways to do that, techniques, which and we're advancing so much, and we have so many new techniques that are coming like literally all the time. I can't keep up with them anymore, but yeah, there are different types according to different needs. And some people think that therapy is just a pricey venting session. Therapy is not a pricey venting session. It's therapists who are trained to listen to you. So even then, listening to you is very active listening, and they use science-based techniques in order to reply to you and guide you and be able to help you with your problems. It's not just like talking to your best friend. It's very specific. So this is the main graph that I wanted to show you to tell you why you need to commit to psychotherapy. So you cannot expect yourself to improve again after 1 or 2 sessions. As the graph shows, after 1 year of therapy, 80% report significant improvement. That's around like 52 sessions. So you can expect yourself to get 80% better after 1 year, not a month, not 3 sessions, you know. I think sometimes we have this misconception that if I start going to therapy, then automatically my life will feel better, but that is not true. It takes commitment. And yeah, after 2 months, you can get 40% improvement. If you're looking to get 40% improvement only, you can do 2 months, around 2 months. Also, these are just statistics. They're not very accurate. Like they're just ranges of numbers. But and after 2 years of therapy, people report 90% improvement. So it depends on how long you're doing it for. And I also wanted to show this graph, which is a comparison between two people. One, the orange one goes to therapy, and the blue one does not go to, has never attended psychotherapy. So when they're faced with a hard situation, usually the person who goes to psychotherapy has an 80% better chance of getting a better outcome than untreated people. So it has a very significant impact in the way you act. Now, I just wanted to talk about Middle East and therapy just quickly. So there is a very obvious very obvious mental health problem in the Middle East. It is due to financial uncertainty, instability in professional lives, salaries. We are all victims of that. Also, lack of awareness. This is a perfect recipe of disaster. Perfect recipe for disaster in the Middle East, which causes us to have a mental health crisis. I'm laughing about it because it's my coping mechanism, but it's very sad. Mental health problem is usually associated with shame, disgrace, and disrespect. This is why we internalize our problems. Like I was reading this article about how like a guy was talking about how he was depressed, and then his mom was just saying that he was lazy. So depression is not laziness, and like the small superficial feelings that some of us might associate it to, it's way deeper than that, and I think we need to give credit for it. And mental health is mostly linked with religion in the Middle East, which is our main issue, I think, is that we think that our well-being is related to our relationship with God. So if you pray more, you will feel better, and if you're not obviously, I'm generalizing a lot, but that is not applicable to everyone. But this is unfortunately how a lot of people think. And lastly, I wanted to say that there are more than 450 types of therapies in the world for everyone. It started with Freud, but we have so many different types of therapies today for everyone, for all different problems, things. I just mentioned a few. We have holistic healing, we have animal assisted therapy, which is just having like a small animal with you that can assist you. We have art therapy, dream work, which is mainly focusing on dreams, EMDR, which is eye movement, rapid eye something movement. It just moves your thinking from rational to feelings with a machine that you have in your hand. We have sex therapy, we have family therapy, we have so many different types of therapies that we didn't have 10 years ago. So yeah. Mental well-being is not a destination, but a journey, and everyone has their own journey. And if you're interested in starting therapy, you can obviously do that. And yeah, I hope I was able to help you a little bit with choosing therapy if you want to start doing that. And I have 2 minutes left, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead. Will we be able to get this presentation file? I can send it to you if you want. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Celine. Anyway, thank you guys for attending this. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. I will be ending the meeting.